Hi.
All right, we're recording. Good morning, my beautiful fit family. I hope everyone's well. Mindset Monday with Tim and Liz. And Liz and I decided we're going to start doing a weekly Monday morning mindset podcast sort of thing. It's not necessarily a podcast, but Zoom is the best technology we have. As this evolves, it may be changing up a little bit. But as you can see, we're the only two on the call right now, but that's why we're recording this to play it back, because I know people Monday morning might have a lot going on. If you want to log on to this at any time and rewatch it or log on while we're watching it, you can post questions up in the comments box if you want to. But Liz, good morning.
Good morning. How are ya?
Absolutely awesome. So we're practicing our social distancing. So Liz is at her house, I'm at my house. So if you see kids running around in my background and trying to climb on me,
Or a dog right next to me.
Or Liz's dog, yep. What kind of dog you got, Liz?
She's a mix. She was a rescue dog. So they think Beagle Pit Bull is what we've been told. She's little.
A Beagle Bull.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's cool.
The Beagle is what Phil says.
I love it.
Yeah.
All right, so today, mindset. So why mindset on Mondays? A lot of people have been talking about, one day kind of melts into the next. We're all in different situations. So, for example, Alicia is still working, but she's got some days off. Some people are still working. Some people are stuck at home, and there's no real structure. But Mondays are historically the first day of the week. I like to say Sunday's the first day of the week, where I try to plan everything out, meal prep, to start Monday fresh. But a lot of times Monday we see as the first day of the week, and it's kind of like, oh my God, it's Monday, this and that. So I think having a good way to shift our mindset and put us in a good positive vibe for the rest of the week to get stuff done, especially now during a global pandemic that none of us have ever really experienced before, is a good idea. So today we're going to be talking about 3 C's. 3 C's. Liz, you want to take them through what the 3 C's are going to be that we're going to be talking about today?
Yeah. So our 3 C's, the first one is going to be control what you can. So looking at the recognizing that we don't have control over everything right now, taking a look at what we do absolutely still have within our control. The second one is going to be cope with what you can't control. So looking at the things that we can't control and figuring out how we're going to let those or not let those affect us. And then the third C is to concentrate on what counts. So what still counts the most in terms of what we're going to focus on to help ourselves get through this.
Beautifully well said. So 3 C's. Let's jump right in. Let's see, control. What can we control? I think we think about control, and anytime the government starts making suggestions or mandates about things like that, we automatically start, or anytime someone starts putting things in place, the rules, we all kind of start to freeze up and get that piece of anxiety anytime we feel like we're losing control. For example, Monday, can't remember the exact date, we're having classes in the gym, 10:30, 11 o'clock, and we're having a discussion about making class sizes smaller, adding a few more classes so everybody can get to the gym. 11 o'clock, the governor comes on and says, oh, and by the way, we're closing all the gyms tonight at 8 o'clock. Boom. Perceived as a total loss of control, like, oh shit, what are we going to do? Luckily, we had discussions, contingencies in place. But I think a lot of people went through that on the day this started really getting real for us. Talk me through a little bit of what you were thinking when, hair salons are closed, gyms are closed, like this and that. What's going through your head, Liz?
So, I mean, honestly, my first thought about all of this was kind of like disbelief, to be honest. I've none of us have ever been through anything like this, and I never saw it getting to the level that it's gotten to. Like even though we were seeing it go through other countries, I still think it felt very disconnected from myself and in any sort of way that I thought that it was going to impact us. So it just felt almost surreal, actually, that this was actually happening. Like I said, even though we'd seen it happening elsewhere, it's always kind of like, oh well, it's not going to impact us. It's not going to affect us the same way. But yeah, that's talk about not being able to control it when you don't even think that it's going to happen, and then here it is, and we're all kind of thrust into this so unexpectedly.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And I'm like, as I am, all of us coaches are coming up with a plan, like how we're going to do this, what we're going to do, what technology we're going to use, make sure everything's in I got to say to the coaches, everyone stepped up amazingly well to make that virtually overnight pivot to a virtual platform. But I think what we realized from this is how much we actually do have control over in our lives. I mean, we can ultimately control our reaction. We could have, cried and hunkered down and looked at it as a vacation, or got scared and, oh my God, what are we going to do? There's a slight level of anxiety that I think is healthy. Too much anxiety is bad. But if I'm on the ER table with some sort of traumatic injury, I want there to be a slight sense of anxiety in the people working on me to help motivate them to work faster and make good, clear decisions. Now, it can go the other way. So you have that anxiety of like, as the owner, and my first thing is, okay, how do I keep my team safe? Because the vision and the mission is to make a measurable impact on the health of the community of Rome, New York, and its surrounding area. And we have a clear vision involved with that. So the team is carrying out that vision. So we want to make everyone safe. And how do we get the members what they deserve and keep them going because they work so hard? And I think we found there is a lot of things that we can control through all this that we may not have thought of before. So some things we're looking at, you can control your nutrition. There might not be every exact little thing in the grocery store that you want, but there are ways to get creative and you can control that. Liz, what else comes to mind?
We can definitely control how we're spending our time. So making sure that we're doing activities that are going to be meaningful and nourish our mind and still get us closer to our goals, making sure we're getting in our sleep, our hydration, all of the things that we ask you guys to do when we're at the gym, we can still do those. Getting in the nutrition, getting in the sleep, getting in the hydration. That's still absolutely all within our control and still working towards those same goals.
I agree.
Yeah.
What do you think, in your opinion? What do you have control over that's, and I'll share afterwards, but what do you have control over that you thought would be, that is more difficult than you thought now that you've got a lot? Now let me ask you first, do you have more time or less time on your hands now?
I have more time on my, yes, definitely.
And you're an entrepreneur.
Yes.
Yeah, well, I don't know if a lot of people know this, but Liz, so I'll give you a little backstory on how Liz came in as a challenger or a 28-day trial?
I came in, with the 30-day breast cancer.
Oh, yes. Our charity promo we did, and she came in as an athlete, and we were just talking one day and asked just about frequency of workouts and different things. And I asked her what her ultimate goal was, and she said, I want to be a coach. And you don't hear that every day. So Liz was fit. She had an awesome attitude. As the coaches and team at Rome, we watch how people interact with each other, and we pick up on that very quickly. She was always very encouraging to other people. If someone needed help, she was right there, even as a brand new athlete. So I said, so we continued that conversation, and bam, here's Coach Liz. And that but during that conversation, the one thing that stuck out for me is a lot of our coaches are entrepreneurs. They are running basically their own little business within a business. And Liz's entrepreneurial spirit is the one thing. And we started actually talking about Bedros. Talk a little bit about how you.
Yeah, yeah.
How did you get involved in him?
Yeah,
Bedros
so
Keuilian.
my introduction to FitBody was actually probably a little bit backwards from some other people's, because as Tim said, I have my own business. I'm an entrepreneur, as is my husband. So keeping up with entrepreneurial learning and all of that stuff is a huge passion of mine. So I came across Bedros, the founder of FitBody, before I came across FitBody. So I came across his podcast. He has a podcast called Empire, where he does a lot of motivational speaking, but it's peppered within business learning. So it was very, very up my alley, because we're kind of getting the best of both worlds. You're learning about his entrepreneurial knowledge and experience, and then he's also very motivational. So it was actually at a time in my life, my husband and I had both made the decision. We were living in Oriskany. We had both made the decision, our businesses are 40 minutes away from there, that we needed to move closer to be closer to our businesses physically. And I've been someone who always has worked out, but I was recognizing that going through this move, I was not going to have the amount of time that I typically had to work out. So I'm like, well, I look at Bedros for all this other stuff. Why don't I take on his philosophy in terms of working out too, and try to move towards the 30-minute workout? And that was where I walked into FitBody. And as Tim said, the rest was history, if we'll call it that.
Yeah, and I think it turned out being a very good fit. The 8:30 peeps don't know what to do now. They don't have their 8:30 class, but I'm hearing a lot of good feedback though about people hopping on and rewatching the workouts. But Liz was also one of our primarily morning coaches, so this is good for some of the afternoon worker outers. I don't know if that's an actual word, to get to know Liz a little bit. And so talk a little bit about your business. What is your business?
So I have a clothing boutique. So I sell clothes, accessories, that sort of thing. So one of the other things I think that Tim and I, and definitely Alicia and Sarah and I had talked about, is my whole job in my business is to make people feel their best about themselves, to make them feel like they look good, to make them feel proud of how they look and like they're presenting their best self to the world. So it was just a really nice fit for me to be able to help people do that from the inside too, which is, I think, what FitBody is so awesome about.
Yeah, so it was definitely just a light here a little bit. It was a good fit all the way around. There's a lot of overlapping skill sets. A lot of overlapping skill sets to the two aspects of this, and a lot of it is basically asking questions and listening to the members, so your clients. So obviously, the shop's closed, social distancing and everything else going on. So you have more time now.
Yeah.
And let's circle back to kind of what we were talking about, that control. You have more time. So a lot of people say, geez, if I only had more time, I would get my garage cleaned out. My garage still isn't cleaned out. Now I'm chipping away at it. My primary focus is this is as we get our system down, I may have a little more time to get the basement cleaned out, try to clean my truck out, all these little projects. I'm like, man, if I could just get an extra few minutes. But so we have, some of us have more time now, others don't. Some of the essential workers, the time management now and doing things on purpose with a purpose is going to be more crucial than ever. Because there might be a lot of overtime. I mean, if you work for a grocery store, if you're a nurse, or in the healthcare field, there's a lot of things. Distribution, we have some members in distribution that are they're working their tails off because people are buying. Hopefully the panic buying trims down a little bit, and we go into a normal routine with that. But with the control, what do you find the hardest, Liz, to keep control over when you have all this extra time on your hands? Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I definitely, just to be completely transparent, I think the thing that I'm having the most difficult time controlling is my motivation. So like you said, I have all of these, my first thought was, oh, I have all of this time now to do all of these different things that I've wanted to do that I haven't had the physical time to do. And now that I have the time to do them, it's making sure that I'm finding the motivation to actually go forward and do those. So, and I think what helps me the most with that motivation, and it's not perfect, believe me, I have my days. We're all human, we have those, but it's definitely keeping with the consistent routine of getting up in the morning, coaching or doing the morning classes if I'm not coaching, treating it like the start of a normal day, even though it's not necessarily a normal day, making it a normal day by controlling the things that I can keep normal, and then using those as my motivation to do things that I might otherwise not be as motivated to do.
Yeah. So the motivation that's kind of comes in with what we talk a lot about is discipline.
Yep.
And staying disciplined even to do what you have to do if you don't feel like it. Because you're on, I watch the workouts and do a lot of times out. I try to be on at least a little bit every time a coach is on. So if there's technical difficulties, just make sure everything's good. And then hop in on a workout. But all the coaches bring it every time. And that's I think that comes the discipline to do that during a time like this from your home without the music and the energy of the other members definitely takes a high level of discipline, because it's hard coaching from home in front of a camera, like just your TV, because you feed off the other members. Yeah. And I think that that speaks volumes about your ability to, because correct me if I'm wrong, and I may be wrong, you may not wake up every single morning saying, oh man, I'm going to kill it today. I mean, and it's human, like you don't always, but one of our core values is every day is game day. So, and I think it's important for people, our home audience that I'm going to call it now, just like that, we're all podcasters. I mean, I never would have imagined a million years we'd be doing this, but it's just that adaptability. But our home audience, I think it's important for them to realize that in their life, every day's game day.
Yeah.
Like it's game day. It's real. Like you still have to get up. You still have to show up for yourself.
Yeah.
Hold on one second. Sorry. I know for myself that staying disciplined and not getting here's the thing. I like work. I like the gym, and I love the business of the gym, and I love helping people. And I realize now I have time with my family, and I actually I can fill, it's Parkinson's law. Parkinson's law says you will use up as much of whatever resource you have. And I about that in a book called Profit First. And it's just about how to manage and organize your business finances. But he uses the analogy of the toothpaste on a toothbrush. So you get a brand new tube of toothpaste, you just glob that stuff right on there. And if it falls off in the sink, oh, it doesn't matter, put a little more on. But then as you get down to the end of that tube of toothpaste and it's almost empty, I mean, you're just trying to squeeze out a little bit if you can't twist it, and just you're lucky to get a little drop on there. You're like, okay, that's good. I'll get a little more tomorrow. So then you're actually real careful with your resources, and you're not. So I think time is like that. Like I can spend a lot of time doing business stuff at home because it's hard at home. You can't shut it off. And I think a lot of other people are working from home now. And a lot of times there's no escape because it's always there, or it can be. So one thing I had to start being conscious and disciplined and control is actually being able to step away and spend a little more time being quiet and still and just watching, hanging out with kids, having coffee with Alicia in the morning, not coming right down and sitting at my computer. And we're reading Atomic Habits in the book group. And we had a good discussion, not this week, we were gone for Luke's birthday, but last week, and she pointed something out like, you wake up and sit right down at your computer and start working. So I might still do that if no one else is awake. I have that quiet time now to myself. But if she gets up, we'll go and we have coffee together and chat a little bit about. And the first time I did that, I actually was really anxious. I'm like, oh my God, I'm sitting here doing nothing. And it was kind of a change. So I had to kind of slow down and take a deep breath and be like, and if you're on the call, if you didn't watch that call with Joanna, it's posted, we'll repost it again. And we're going to have a more coherent way to find all these links, but slowing down and saying to yourself, what am I actually feeling anxious about? And I think it's because working, especially now, gives me a sense of feeling like I have control over the situation. And now there's things that have to get done. There's still things that have to get done to make the business run and make sure people are still getting the service and what they need. But being able to mentally separate and take a deep breath and relax and enjoy some time with when will I ever have this much time with my tweens again?
Yeah.
I mean, I got two 14-year-olds. 13-year-olds, sorry. I got two 13-year-olds, 13 going on 26 and know everything. And then when I was that age, my dad was the dumbest man on the planet. He didn't know anything. It's amazing it's amazing how smart he got as I got older.
He became a genius, yeah.
He kind of knew what he was talking about. But we're getting time to spend together. So I think we're kind of going off on a tangent a little bit, but that whole first C of control is, you can control your emotions, you control your reactions to things, and then the physical aspects, your hydration, your nutrition, your sleep, your workouts, all that stuff you have control over. So I think it's important to remember that there is a lot we have to control. Yeah. What's the second C, Liz?
So the second C is coping with what we can't control. So, yeah. I mean, I think this goes right in line with the quote that you hear about, you can't control what happens, but you can always control how you react to it and how you let it affect you.
Yeah, I love that quote. You control your reactions, cope, but there are things that we have to cope with, like the unknown. Okay, we don't know, and I used to be, for those of you who don't know, an endurance athlete. So I would run marathons, and I did an Ironman triathlon and smaller triathlons, things like that. And a marathon is 26.2 miles long. An Ironman triathlon, for those of you that don't know, is a 2.4 miles 112-mile bike ride, and then a 26.2-mile run at the end. And we went to Boonville this weekend and drove by and waved at the family. No one got out, we didn't get close or anything because it was Luke's birthday. And Aunt Chrissy was upset, and rightfully so. I mean, she misses her kids. I mean, Aunt Chrissy is like another grandmother to these kids. And she's, visibly getting upset, and I don't fault her for that at all. And I started thinking, I'm like, man, like I told her, I said, we are, we just got to settle in, like, and think about what you're grateful for. We're healthy. You're healthy. We're not doing anything stupid. We're just going up in the woods and just had a hot dog roast with our immediate family here. And you got to kind of, the thing that keeps running in my head is we got to settle in to a pace. So when you're on a long distance run or any kind of endurance sport, you can't sprint. Like you'll burn yourself out. So you have to settle in and find that pace that's going to be sustainable through the duration. Now here's where I think a lot of the anxiety comes from. And one thing that made this very clear to me is when we pivoted to the online workouts, one of the biggest questions that we had, or the biggest things that people were concerned about, was, I can't see the clock. I'm like, oh, well, what can we figure out? We were trying to figure out a way to move the clock so people would see it in the view, but then they said, no non-essential personnel out. Could we be at the gym? Maybe, I don't know, but I don't want to, I don't want the coaches to have to go out any more than they absolutely have to. So we're working out at home now, and there's no clock. But that made me realize, like, people want to see the finish line. They want to see how close they are to the end. And we are in a marathon, so to speak, with a finish line you can't really see. You don't really know. Now we know, I know this is going to end. Right. We are going to make it through this. This is going to end, and I think as an organization and as a community and people, we're going to come out stronger and more resilient and more resourceful than we were before. But I think the one thing that a lot of people are having a difficult time coping with is not knowing when this will end. Like, how long is it going to last? What do you think, Liz?
Yeah, no, or even to emphasize that even more, feeling like maybe we're being given a finish line that's then going to move again. Like, it's already moved at this point. It's already moved out from what we had already expected. So dealing with that too, that change and that component that we can't control.
So, and it almost feels like, you hear different messages and different things. The best thing, I've heard any professional, a medical professional politician say is that we don't know. But so people might throw dates out there or whatever. That date comes and then they extend it. You almost feel like the rug's getting pulled out from underneath you. So I think getting into the mindset of, I don't want to say permanence, but we're going to be in this for a little while.
The new normal.
Just accepting it. Joanna said acceptance. I like to call it the temporary normal.
Yep.
We don't know how temporary it's going to be, but there are going to be days where you're like, full disclosure, Liz, and kind of like, I also have to be careful not to get sucked in and watch. All right. I will be completely honest with you. I watched The Tiger King, the entire series, in 2 nights. I got sucked in.
We got about halfway through it last night. Don't tell me yet, because we got about halfway through it yesterday.
Went to bed, and the older boys were up in their rooms playing their video games, and it's dark out, and it's like I had a glass of wine, and I sat down on the couch, and I was just spent, trying to figure out, technology. I'm getting, one of my goals was to get better at technology. Now I am, and that's good. But I was just I had a moment of weakness, and I don't know if it was weakness. I was relaxing, but I turned it on and stayed up way too late watching this mind-numbing. I don't even know. But so I won't ruin it for you, but uh, I got sucked into it, and that was not like. And I'm thinking to myself, in the back of my head, you always know, like, I could be really like, I could be down cellar organizing things. I mean, not working, but just doing something that I knew, like, I could be reading an
Yeah.
enriching book right now. I could be watching something really good, like a good podcast with one of my favorite podcasters or something. But no, I'm watching Joe Exotic bitch about goddamn Carol Baskets. But it continued to do, you know what I mean? So I now I'm like, okay, no more Netflix for me. I mean, and if that's
Yeah.
your thing, but I think the where was I going with that? I don't know. Oh, coping with the unknown and kind of shifting that mindset. And I think what you said in the beginning is keeping that routine.
That's what I
Um,
was just going to say. Like, it kind of takes me back to that. Like, that's where I find myself having those moments of weakness, like you will, is on days when I am letting myself sleep in a little bit longer than I'm not. It's just making sure that I'm taking the steps that I need to take that will allow me to stay as in control of my day as I can. It's like if you start to let that, you get in a slippery slope of when you start to change the little things, they can become the bigger things like that.
I love that. I love that because you know what? For me, I can if I don't have a very clear, direct purpose for the day, even for the morning or an hour,
Yeah.
I can start to get lazy or
Mm-hmm.
complacent.
Agree.
And human nature, I think human nature is to take the path of least resistance. I mean,
Yep.
you're not going to take but sometimes the path of least resistance is not always the path that's going to take us to our long-term vision for ourselves. And truth be told, for me, that's alcohol. I can use that as a coping. And I think, and I don't think I'm alone here. I mean, a lot of people are like, oh my God, thank God the liquor stores are still essential. You know what I mean? But if I let my guard down and have a couple drinks or a couple more, and then I'm tired in the morning and I'm sleeping in,
Yep.
and I'm looking at my journal and it's all gone to hell. And you that's where anxiety comes from because you know you're better than that. You know that you are capable of more, and you think about the days like, wow, what the hell? Why am I still in bed? Like, what am I doing?
Mhm.
So I think that starts with the night before and mapping out a plan for the day and having your workout clothes ready. Alicia and I were just talking about this last night, and she was, she works a weird schedule, so she works overnights. So she's had a few days off in a row now, and she was kind of getting into a little bit of a workout slump. And she was on this morning at 6:15 working out with you, and the other group, the crew, and that action sets the tone for the entire day
Absolutely.
for all of us. So I think
Yep.
the way we cope is we do take control of what we can and realize that. And it's the serenity prayer. Give me, help me control the things I can, help me to deal with the things I can't, and help me know the difference between. I think it's being able to know the difference. And yeah, stuff's changed, the paradigm's shifted, but there still is so much that we do have control over. And by focusing on that's how we cope with what we can, what we can't control. Because you can't control what a lot of the anxiety comes from. And action, I think, action stifles anxiety. What do you think about that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think that um we I mean, I think that I'm honestly naturally kind of an anxious person. So I've kind of, even before this, had to really look at control and not just what I can control, but specifically what I can't control, like recognizing that, that's where the anxiety comes in, is when you're time for all of us is a commodity. We can't make more of it. We can't get it back. So you need to not spend your time on the things or even thinking or dwelling about the things that you can't control. You need to make that delineation, set that stuff aside, and to your point, take the action, spend the time on viewing everything through the lens of what you can control, and focus your time, your effort, your energy, your action there.
Love it. Yeah, I agree. A lot of anxiety, the reason for all this, I mean, a virus,
Mhm.
right? Something we can't even see
Yeah.
is just so disruptive to what we perceive normal life to be. And there's a lot of anxiety around that. I mean, a lot of people you don't know, and for the people I've been talking to, they're kind of worried about, am I going to get this? Is someone I love going to get this? What's going to happen if they don't have enough ventilators? What happens if they don't have enough PPE? What happens if they don't have? What if we get this, that, all these what ifs?
Becomes a
I
big thing.
Yeah, I can't control
Yep.
how many ventilators we have. I can't control who gets sick, who catches this virus, but I can control my own activity,
Yep.
right? I can control whether I wash my hands or not.
Yep.
I can control whether I stay a safe distance. I can control whether I don't go out and do something stupid and try and kids are having parties because they feel like they're invincible, things like that. I can control those aspects. So I think taking those actions can help alleviate some of the anxiety, but coping with the fact that the big unknowns, am I going to get sick? And if I do, what's going to happen? Meditating, taking as much action as you can to protect and prevent, and making sure you're doing what you can to boost your immune system, like that exercise, like meditation, really helps in a big way. And one thing, and I think I heard Bedros say this, is the most selfish thing you can do to help yourself is help other people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I see that in our community.
Absolutely.
I think the thing that helps people cope with the unknown, and because that's really the biggest thing, is the unknown. You don't know what you're going to get. You don't know how long it's going to last. I think it's safe to say that's one of the biggest stressors that we have, is reaching out and helping out with a charity event, even if it's just virtual, or reaching out to someone else. That's why we're doing that Pay It Forward initiative, because that, I think, is one of the best coping mechanisms, healthy coping mechanisms that we actually can control. You can control if you see somebody struggling on the Facebook page, send them a private message, says, hey, you got this. I get it. It's hard, but we're doing this together. Or what do you think, Liz?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, they always say that there's giving a lot of times, and giving of yourself, giving of just something, some sort of kindness, just intrinsically is going to help you feel all that much better, even though you're not the one receiving what you're giving. You're the giver, not the recipient. You're still receiving something intrinsically that's invaluable. So yeah, absolutely. 100%.
What do you think? What do you think is some of the most valuable ways you're seeing people give back now?
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, one of the first things I just want to say about our own community is just like blown away by the way that people are accepting. We're still so fortunate to be having new members sign on during this time, and just seeing
Yeah.
the warmness and the reception from the people within our group, just like 80 messages of welcome. We're so excited to have you to these new, like that's where else do you get that? You know, that's phenomenal. So just something I want to say about our own community, just as simple as that. And then of course the things people are doing for the food drives and all that stuff. Just when we're all, you know, we've all walked into the grocery stores ourselves and seen the, you know, the shelves cleared off, and the fact that we're still as a community, members of our own are just reaching out and going and picking up groceries and bringing them elsewhere to people in need, when, you know, you don't know the next time you're going to walk in the grocery store to try to get food for your family and the shelves.
Yeah,
And so,
that was, yeah, that was something that kind of, that you don't really think about. I know we have a lot of educators in this community, and they see what kids are going through firsthand. And one thing I didn't even realize, I think Bill Greenhouse posted something about this when this all first started, when they closed the schools down. Okay. And that's a whole nother level of stress and anxiety there. Like, how am I going to teach? How am I going to be the teacher and work and do this? But a lot of times kids don't have it so good at home, and school is the safest place for them, and they're getting the majority of their nutritional needs met at school. So I think that's what was most heartbreaking for me. So that's why I love that our community is getting behind, not just the Fit Body community, but the broader Rome, New York area and surrounding area community behind these food drives, to make sure kids do have food that they need to eat while they're not in school. And that's something that I saw, that is there's the Front Porch Project, there's different groups that different members are doing to help support that. And to me, I think that's awesome. That's great. And I think also just watching people reach out to their elderly neighbors, or neighbors. I've heard stories about people that they just, they'll one person I was talking to, their neighbor's older and has some health issues, so they help them over the phone set up that online order app for a grocery store, and they actually go, they pick it up, put it on their front step, to not risk exposing them, and the person gets their groceries, and they're just, you know, the person ordering, the older person pays for them, you know, gets what they need. The other person goes, picks them up, takes them to their house. And that's, I think that those kind of gestures are really showing how awesome the majority of us people really are. And just how much we do want to help out our fellow human beings.
Yeah, and I think too, this is a time that we're all kind of recognizing the things that we take for granted, that we just don't even think about on a normal basis, that we're, you know, they're kind of front and center right now. So that's, you know, as much as you don't want to say it's a, you know, a blessing in disguise, it is, like, there are positives that are coming out. That wouldn't have otherwise. So
I mean, a simple high five.
Yeah.
Like, think about how many freaking high fives a day did we do as coaches? I mean, just, you know, coaching a morning block or an afternoon block, 4 classes, you're getting, with 20 plus people per class, hundreds of high fives a day. And that positive physical human contact. And for you guys watching this, if you don't know, like, we have to, one of our goals is to physically touch appropriately, obviously, each member at least once through every class. Be it a high five, be it a pat on the back, be it just a correction, like, hey, bring your shoulders up, touch my hand with your, whatever it is, some sort of human contact. And that is what makes this so powerful. It's the proximity of other people. And so many people are telling me, and I'm hearing so often, and myself, now I'm not a huge hugger. Like, I'll give you a hug. I'm not opposed to it. I'm not opposed to. Oh, that's right. That's right. We all did the 5 love languages. The team did the 5 love languages to see what the communication for your love languages. So we know how best to love our coaches. The words of affirmations, gifts, physical touch. Neither one of us are on the physical touch spectrum.
Yeah. Alicia was like, "Don't touch Liz," when she joking. But, yeah.
But I'm really looking forward to that party, and I think everyone's anticipating that first time back in the gym. Like, what's it going to be like? I'm kind of envisioning a party, just everybody comes to the gym and we have a party, and like maybe we'll do a couple of workouts or whatever. There'll be a lot of people. We got to figure something out, but see people in like the hugs that I get from people in appreciation that say, they give me a hug and they say thank you for helping. And I mean, as a coach, you get it. I really miss that. You know, I'm not devoid of physical contact. I had my family, contact, but it's that human connection. I think that I think a lot of us miss the most.
Yeah.
And that's so coping. There's something to cope with that we can control. But I think in my mind, like, I miss my parents. I'd like to go stop in and say hi to them, and Alicia's parents and everything like that. We'd go some Sundays and have dinner with them after church or whatever. But I think that one of the slogans I heard is "Stay apart now so we can be together later." This too shall pass. I mean, this is something that's going to be temporary, and if we're smart about it, that's kind of the mindset to take to help cope with that loss of human connection. We're coming. Oh, we got just a few minutes left. I got to hop off here. I got a nutrition call coming. But the third C, which we've kind of been talking about this whole time, is to concentrate on what counts. And I think that's been kind of the theme of this whole thing.
Yeah.
Is really concentrate on what's going to matter, and making sure that, we're concentrated. Obviously, we're a gym, concentrated on our health, but not just our physical health, but our mental health, our emotional health. Making sure that you're keeping. That's why we had Joanna on. That's why we're doing the Mindset Monday to keep the positive vibes flowing through this, and figuring out what can we do to add value to help people. He's okay too. Just a bit. As long as he's quiet. So I think for me, that's focusing on balance. Keeping balance of spending quality time with the family, quality time with the coaches as much as we can. Online, answering questions, making sure you guys all have what you need. Quality time with the members, and getting my own workouts in, and eating as healthy as I can. Because I'll tell you, the struggle's real. There's a lot of really good deals out there. There are a lot of good order out deals. Like we're trying to order out twice a week. All right, Wednesdays and Saturdays, and make the healthiest choices we can. But it's not always the easiest. But we're consciously doing that to help support the smaller businesses in the area. We're not going to McDonald's. We're not going to we're going to mom and pop restaurant of, we know the old, you know what I mean, they're our neighbors or whatever, to help push this thing along. So because we want to make sure that they can keep their doors, and people have been supporting us, and we want to continue to keep delivering as much value as possible. So it's focusing on trying to keep nutrition on point, because you can get stuck in a rut of, oh, well, let's order out every day and support make healthy choices, and do that on, you heard me say it, on purpose, with a purpose, every day. So what do you think? What's for me? It's balance for me. Balance. What's your to concentrate on? What counts for you, Liz? What do you got to concentrate on?
So, I mean, I think that I'm going back to again at looking at some of the positives that are coming out of this that otherwise wouldn't. That's kind of what I'm trying to concentrate on is that there are things happening, that there are things that we're experiencing that we might not have were it not for this situation. And at the end of the day, if we're able to get through that, we are going to be able to get through this, and our goals still count right now. So still taking the steps that we can to continue to strive towards our goals. And when we're on the other end of this, we're going to be able to say, if I was able to take action on all of this stuff when I was the most challenged, like, sky's the limit. What can I do now that I'm not being challenged to this extent? So just, trying to build off of what we have in front of us right now to take us to the next level going forward. That's the mindset.
Wow.
And what I'm trying to make count. So
I love that, because if you can pursue, like right now, arguably maybe one of the most difficult times we've gone through as a society, continue to with that self-growth.
Yep.
There's not going to be a time that you can't, if you get through that. So this is almost like the test.
Yeah.
This is like the test. This is like, hey, can I do the how am I going to step up? And and I'm kind of looking at it as in a leadership point of view, like I mean, leadership always matters, but now, like, how are we going to react to this?
Yeah.
I think that is an awesome way to close this out with, is thinking about this is the test for all of us. And here's the good news. I was not a good student in the beginning, but I turned into a good student. So there's never too late. You might be feeling like you're failing the test right now, but guess what? The choice is yours. The next decision you make after you watch this, or tomorrow, anytime, is you can change. Because if you're watching this, chances are you've worked out with us, you've been in the gym, and you've made some sort of a positive life change. Mm-hmm. You went from possibly a person that did not work out to identifying as a person that does work out and prep your food. And you still are that person. You still have what it takes to make those positive life changes. And you might be feeling like you're not doing so. You might be crushing the test. You might be on every single day, and that's awesome. Keep that up. Don't get lazy and don't get complacent. But if you're feeling like maybe you are not doing so well during this test, during the challenging time, guess what? The next decision you make matters. And it will carry on to the next good decision, because one good decision leads to the next. I think we gotta wrap this up, because I got a nutrition call at 10 o'clock. Liz, I think I really appreciate you agreeing to jump on it. This was fun. I really enjoyed this. I mean, even if no one else watches this, which I hope they do, I really think it was beneficial for me to get out and talk to you. And you have some awesome ideas, and I definitely think we'll do this. We'll do this every Monday. We'll do this next Monday.
Cool.
And if any of you guys have topics or anything you'd like us to talk about, that relate to mindset and keeping a positive mindset throughout this and moving forward, we'd love to hear it. So I'm going to post this, and I'm recording this, so it'll take a little while to download. I'm going to post this into the private members group and send the YouTube link out to everyone via email. So if you're not on Facebook, you'll still get this. Shoot us an email back. Send it to info@romefbbc.com and just put Mindset Monday on there. And if you have questions or anything you'd like to hear us discuss on this, we're open to suggestions and feedback and what you guys think. So, Guys, thank you so much. Liz, any closing thoughts?
No, just yeah, focus on those 3 C's. Control
Yeah,
what we can. We're all in this together.
control what you can, cope with what you can't, healthy coping mechanisms, and concentrate on what counts. All right, with that, I'm going to stop the recording right now. Did you?